That's going to be a big...
There's a footnote, art sales.
to look at there.
Okay. So, okay. Questions on just land, just
Well,
use?
just for Commissioner Hess's sake,
Yeah.
I didn't see a drive-through there.
Hey, man, I like this, man, I was on the fence before, but I'm all in on AI. Yes, thank you, Commissioner Strong, I appreciate it. Hey, and that's good, because that would be my recommendation, in the neighborhood, we shouldn't allow, it should be excluded, but elsewhere is good, that's perfect, good segue. Okay.
Might be helpful too, I often look at the property itself to see what's around it.
Okay.
So this is one we're looking at right here is this lot.
Okay, that would be the lot that, is that, where are you at there?
So this is Pony Express. This will be Porter's Crossing. So
Oh,
you've
okay.
got, I'm pretty sure this is the Pre-Loved, Papa John's, I think it's a dental office.
Okay.
To the right's the Eagle Vision.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
And what's the lot size?
Good question. It is
It's a good test.
an eighth of an acre.
How much?
An eighth of an acre, 0.7995.
So,
So it's not gonna be a Home Depot or
Nope.
anything?
so where does it tell us, is it just the description in 1730, the size? 1730-20A? Somewhere in the zoning, it talks about less than 5 acres, right? Somewhere in here. It's not the land use table. Commercial standards, let's see, is it under the standards, minimum setback size? Those are the setbacks. Okay. Where can we learn like the acreage, is there an acreage requirement to each of these, or minimum, maximum for each
So
of these commercial?
that's a unique thing for commercials. Often we don't have acreage requirements.
Okay,
It's really just on the, it's on the developer to know.
okay.
Like I can put this size of a building because it's going to require this much parking.
That's
So
true.
certain sizes just won't work.
Okay, that makes sense.
And did you say they were probably some kind of a coffee shop or?
Yeah, I told AI to do retail and ice cream, and that's what it came
So
up
it's
with.
somewhat specific retail of food and an undetermined retail.
So we have to determine the number of parking spaces that should.
Yep, that's part of it.
Okay.
So it gave out a parking calculation here. I don't.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, just open conversation.
Yeah, some things I look at right away, first off, the vision triangle, right? So I always look for safety. So the vision triangle, looks like it's crowded right there. So that's a problem. And I heard some other commissioners mention ADA should be up against the building. Parking, if you look in chapter 17.55, it talks about how much parking is required, minimum and maximum. Has a lot of parking. And also, obviously, we don't like that configuration where it's wrapped around the building like that. Yeah, so in 17.55.110 starts talking about parking. And then down below in table 17.55.120C talks about required parking by land use. So I was just scrolling down looking at retail establishment. And it's saying a minimum one stall for each 300 square feet of gross floor, and we're at 3,400 square feet. And then maximum one stall for each 200. So if we hit the maximum at 3,400 square feet, that puts us at 17 stalls. And in there, it's saying there's 24, but there's like, what, 30 something?
So keep in mind, you've got two different uses here. So you're going to have retail is going to be part of it, and then you're going to split it up into probably a restaurant.
Yeah, and then that's one stall per 250 square feet. So that's less dense than the maximum of the retail. So yeah, good point though, Stephen.
How does that, as long as the applicant is identifying those different, hey, we have equal square footage of both uses, and here's the use for this minimum.
Right, so you would kind of what it attempted to do here is you take the retail, which you could do it at 250 because it's between 200 and 300 square feet, so that's what it comes up with. and the ice cream probably would have been the same. So really, I think the minimum probably would have been closer to a 14, 15 is probably what we're looking at for the required spaces.
And that's based on, that would be is the food in your, oh, that's retail. Retail, like Commissioner Allen said, it says minimum 1 per 300 square feet of gross space and 1 max for 200 of gross floor buildings. That's what the table says.
No, I mean, I think it's to make it so we have enough parking, but we don't have so much that the parking lot is completely, I mean, most times they dominate the site anyway, but.
And in this case, how do you, so if, okay, it's an ice cream parlor for a restaurant, so would you distinguish that as a restaurant or a fast food? I mean, when you're looking at the parking, because it doesn't have drive-through, so it's only a drive-through. So you would lean to the 250?
Probably.
Okay, all right, and that's what you have in the generated plan.
Right, I think it says there's only 26 parking spaces provided. There's more than that, right?
Yeah. So like, for example, one of the things, okay, north property line, south property line, we're assuming that the 170 square, linear feet is off the site access, so that would be off from the express.
Yeah, I told it where it's community access on the dimensions, so it fit as well as it could.
So in one of the codes that talks about,
I think you need your mic on again.
oh yeah, sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. One of the codes that I would point out is like, hey, in the code, it implies, suggests, or uses the word should or may or shall. The building should front on, not have parking between the main street and its building, right? And somewhere I can't remember if that's off-street parking. Somewhere it says that, but it's not a thou shalt kind of approach. It's loose in its language, the term that it uses. I'm trying to think about where that is. It's under 17 somewhere. I don't know if I think it's, let's see, off-street parking. It's under landscape and buffering somewhere. So that would be, now that's the trouble, I guess, in this context. And there's the clear vision triangle that Commissioner Allen talked about. No landscaping over 3 feet height shall be allowed within the clear vision triangle. And there's the trees and shrubs. Well, it looks like it's close there. Okay.
So what you're bringing up, the requirement for parking, I believe is in 1772. And that's our architectural and commercial design standards.
Oh, 1772.
That one, there's a table that shows when you can and can't have parking between the building. If you do, kind of what you have to do to dress it up, or you have a drive-through.
Yeah.
Some things that also help is if you look at our commercial development standards. So for the commercial community zone here, this is why we put in both a minimum and a maximum. Because you always want a minimum,
Yeah.
and the maximum is to try to push that building all the way up towards the road.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't just keep scooting back further and further back, which discourages parking
Yeah.
between there. So
Okay.
this one is going to be unique where they are going to actually have a rear setback of 35 feet because it is next to residential, because residential is there on the south. So I think I didn't give it the setback. So clearly setbacks are a problem here. It doesn't really give you the distances, but we know that's probably a lot bigger than 25 feet.
Yeah, it's not as clear as it needs to be to show that that they're meeting it, right? Okay. Okay, other things that commissioners, this can, feel free just to jump in if you see something or want to ask a question.
I'm not sure the exact spot, but I think there's some violation with the dark sky ordinance as well on the lighting. They're at 4,000, whatever that number is. And then there, I think it's supposed to be lower than that, but I could be mistaken, but I think that's true.
Can you repeat that, what that was?
Yeah, down on page 4, they've got the lighting think that's in violation.
Let's see, that would be,
I could be wrong on
well,
that.
it's a combination of being down, but also the amount of light. And
Yes.
that would- I think it's 1756 somewhere in here is where it's going to put that one.
Yeah, I can find the exact spot, but yeah, something like that.
65.
Is there a certain part of this you're saying is not compliant?
Well, isn't it like 17,000 or something, and there's one that's at 18,000? I think might be too high. I could be wrong on that, but I don't remember the exact number. It may be okay, but I thought it was a little bit lower.
You said page 4, Commissioner Free. They have the 12, 12, 16, Ballard.
And is there anything, the CCT number, is that in our code somewhere? Google seems to think that's too high. But I don't know if they're right.
We don't, not that I know.
didn't look
I
up
honestly
enough, so I was a
don't,
little curious on that one.
I don't even know what that means.
I'm not sure what that is either.
Is that the
Because
temperature?
you usually look at the lumens. I thought they wanted to keep them lower, and that one's at 18,000.
So I know in general, our code encourages having lower light fixtures, less light fixtures, so if they need to be a little bit brighter. Mostly what we look at with these, we're looking at, does it meet, does it not exceed the 100,000 lumens per acre? That's a big one. And then is all the lighting full cutoff?
How big is this site?
It's 0.8 acres.
0.8, yeah, so you're over 100,000 lumens easily.
Where did you find the requirement for the amount of light?
17.56 D. Yeah, so 17.56.050 D.
All outdoor light output standards.
So it's 100,000 lumens per net acre, and on here you've got, like especially the P2 ones, it's saying 18,000 lumens per light, there's 4 of them. So it's already pushing high, and then you've got the P1s, which are 12,000 each, so yeah, we're above.
100,000 easy.
The height is okay, because they're 16 feet. I think the max height is 16 parking lot.
Yeah, 17 feet is the height.
17, residential says it can't be over 12 feet, but those were not there. So we would conclude that they're at least exceed that code for total lumens outdoor. No, sorry. We would say collectively that they would exceed the total outdoor light output standards, exceeding 100,000 lumens per net acre. Per net acre meaning just lumens divided by whatever the total acres is. If this is 0.8, and then you divide whatever they propose is point to 0.8. Yeah,
Could you describe what you net out of net acreage? Like, is there something that's excluded from the lighting calculation? If you know.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if that they take out the space by the building because it's all internal. That would be my guess. They take out that footprint, and then everything outside of that, take that area.
In which case you're way, way over.
Yeah. And there's no minimum light that they have to have.
Yeah.
Like, again, businesses really get to choose how much light they feel like they need. If they don't feel like for security reasons they need a lot of light, they don't need to put any lights up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad they're showing it in lumens. I remember a few years ago we were looking at one and they had it in foot candles.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck is a foot candle? And all the older members on the commission were like, oh yeah, we know what those are. I'm like, I've never heard of that. So I do like lumens.
Commissioner Allen and Commissioner Free, did you guys just calculate the total number of quantities of each light fixture to come up with over 100,000?
Yes, yeah, on page 4 it shows each light and then says lumens and it says quantity next to it. Yeah, so I just multiply them
Oh,
together.
yeah. Between the P1, they're already over. 84,000. Yeah. Okay.
Great example.
Okay.
And actually that table's even wrong compared to the diagram on the left. It's saying there's only one P2 on the table, but if you count on the left, there's at least what, 4 of them on that right-hand side?
And it says 7 people.
The AI is not perfect.
No, no, it's fine. Honestly, I think you did it on purpose to make it all these fun little things for us to
And
catch.
then five people.
I like it.
It's surprising how often stuff like that happens. You find discrepancies that you have to nicely encourage them to correct.
It's interesting why they put a 12-footer on that versus a 16, but whatever. Yeah, it's all commercial around it. I could see why you would change it. Okay. All right. Let's see what else they have in here. Does anybody else see any issues? If you were to go to sheet 1, we noted that they have too many parking spaces. Is that correct? 7. Okay, and we know that 1 ADA, let's see, what is the total number of ADA per parking stalls? Off-street parking, and does it require a van accessible spot? Where do we find that? Let's see, handicap accessible parking. Number of stalls.
So, did they have above 26 there?
Yeah, okay, so we have to look at table 1755 120B for ADA requirements. Okay, well, there's A, B. Okay, so for between 1 to 25, they need 1 accessible, and it needs to be van. So at least they have the 1 and the van accessible space.
If they have more than 25.
Then you have 2, yeah, 26 to 25. Yeah. I wonder where, required islands, dimensions of stalls, 10 feet by 18. Location. Okay, so the location for the handicap in 1755-70B says handicap parking stalls shall be located as close to primary building entrance as practical with access ramps. So the code, like, for example, let's say the code, the way I interpret the code doesn't say thou shalt have the ADA adjacent to the building, the way that code is written. They're just saying it needs to be as practical. Of course, logically, we all see the ADA ramp accessible spaces usually adjacent to it. But if you think about it, Walmart, those aren't, the ADA, they're not adjacent to the building, they're across the aisle. So there wouldn't necessarily be, but I'm sure as staff, you would say, hey, you gotta, the building needs to be closer to the access, and so that would limit your parking around, and hey, maybe that means you have parking adjacent to the building, adjacent to the patio or seating area, and that would facilitate that easier. Commissioner Strong, go ahead.
Yeah, and with the ADA, it almost looks like it's at the back of the building instead of the front, which it should be at the front.
Yeah, you flip it. If it stayed like that, if it was approved, you would say, hey, it needs to at least go close to the patio, the main entrance, not the here. Okay. Now the other point with the site plan is that are they showing the correct elements? It has landscaping, it has parking, it has building, it has the features, has curb and gutter, it has widths, it has a weird dimension for some of these dimensions are a little off. It has a 7-foot wide buffer, so it looks like it has nearly the things, that was one question I was going to look at under 17 site plan. Is of course there's the specific individual, the list of things that must be shown on site plan. Are we be looking for the specific elements that must be shown under 17-150 site plan development standards? Is that where the checklist of things that if I were putting this together, I know, oh, I have to show these elements.
Yeah, typically. So we already did A, we looked at the use of the property,
Property,
According
so
to
they
the-
identified
the
that.
zoning.
Screening requirements, any commercial lot which abuts a residential or agricultural use shall be effectively screened by a combination of wall, fencing, landscape. Required walls or fences shall not be less than 6 feet high. We did review a landscape screen in previous meetings. There might be a potential change there. But so, for example, there's a sidewalk on one side. These are all commercial. Is the south, did you say south of this is residential on the south
Yes.
property line?
This is the,
Oh,
and this is
okay.
the lot in question.
Okay, all right. So that right there says the screening, they don't meet the screening on that south. They got a sidewalk. Yeah. Hey, they like sidewalks. That's good. AI likes sidewalks. 6-foot sidewalk, 5-foot sidewalk. That's the other thing.
Well, one of them's 6, one of them's 5.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, because in, it does, in the parking, it does require screening. Okay, is the parking, are we screening just the headlights that are of parked cars in the parking lot? Or are we screening the entire parking lot? That's a question that
Yeah, no, let's take a
I
look.
would look to find out, because to Commissioner Jensen's point, they do have at least a screen. So let's see, would that be under landscaping buffer or off-street parking? Look for landscape, let's see, parking. It's probably under the landscape buffering section, because that's a question like, because you could have parking and then you have areas where there's not parking, but you have drive areas. So I'm, okay. Required landscape screening provisions.
So typically, we mostly just care about screening the headlights.
Screening the headlights. So you would be breaking that down to where the parking stalls are located.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you would expect to see a screen. If, for example, in this case, they're parking along that entire stretch. So,
So there may be a unique situation. This is actually a good area to talk about this, and I'm not sure. Commissioner Allen, you may have been on the planning commission during this time when Dollar Tree, or I think it was Dollar Tree or O'Reilly, one of these was being developed, and the elevation of these businesses are actually higher than the homes.
yeah.
And so, took a lot of discussion, but if you look along here, this is the only area along this whole commercial stretch where it buffers, that there's a wall of trees that they've put in. So the city required the developer to put those in because if not, that 6-foot wall was not high enough to screen headlights as they came into the site from getting into those homes. So that's something, yeah, you could look for, so you're not only screening out into the road, but in those situations, you'd have to account for that. Our code's changed now where that wall, it's going to be 6 feet measured from the commercial grade, not and that's the highest point of the commercial grade, not right where it's going to be put to the residential.
Existing grade,
Yeah.
where they're proposed.
So learning from that, we accounted for that for future sites.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for the road, we can jump to the landscape page if you
Yeah.
want to. You look at,
Vegetation shall be used to screen headlights, encroaching upon adjacent or cross right-of-way residential use. It says, plant material, tree, shrubs, ornamental grasses, at the time of planting, in immediate and minimum 3.5 foot tall vegetative barrier. So I guess, let's see. Let me do a quick check here. Okay, so they do have a planting schedule. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I gotta figure out which ones are which.
yeah, sorry, typically it's not this hard when you get a real landscape plan.
That's okay, because some of these probably would never grow 3.5 feet tall. They're spireas, barberry, 9 bar.
Right, and you're probably gonna know a lot of these
Anyway.
off the top of your head, but.
Yeah, but there is an issue with that a little bit because, developers like to put plants in that check a box like, hey, we put plants in a park strip. I'm like, yeah, well, you put 4-foot tall ornamental grass in a park strip right next to where somebody's trying to back out of their driveway. It's like, hey, yeah, it's a plant, but maybe you should, and not to mention the fact that people don't maintain stuff, These are check marks for development, but when it happens when all these die, which often they do in that case, and so that's always just something to consider, but anyway. Yeah. Okay. Anything else that anybody has seen that they want to discuss on this plan?
Yeah, we could look at the elevations. Would be a good thing to look at.
Commissioner Allen, have anything you want to, go ahead, Commissioner Allen.
Yeah, first off, obviously the color is a problem. You got the retail and the tan, the blue ice cream one.
You don't think that looks great?
I like it. Yeah,
You like Neapolitan ice cream, maybe?
yeah. There's, so in chapter 17 point, let me scroll to the top so I know which one I'm in. 17.72, commercial design standards. It talks about having the colors not be outlandish and that they should match around each other, that kind of stuff.
What was that? What was that reference? 1772.
Yeah, let me find where I was. I had to scroll up, so I lost it. Let's see. 17.72.060A, architectural style / theme. I guess it's more talking about, separate structures on the site should be designed similar to the primary structure, but it's just one anyway, including colors, materials, design elements. And even just getting that blue approved would be a hard one. I know when the Wendy's was coming in, they wanted a lot of red on there. That was a big deal too, trying to match the colors. Also, if we look at the articulation on the building, there's probably not enough either. It's relatively flat. There's some stuff on there, but I think that's definitely one we could look at more in depth too. Does it have enough of that horizontal articulation stuff?
Yeah, they have a bump out in the center and then on the corners. It doesn't show very well in the plan view, but you have to kind of interpret it from the elevations is all you can see it.
Yeah, and if you scroll down in the same section, of course, down to F, it talks about facade articulation and even has articulation standards, and then an example down there of appropriate articulation versus inappropriate. And this one seems more straight lines than a lot of articulation there.
And Stephen, the articulation would be the building, not just the awning over an entrance. That would be, maybe that's what we need to look at and see. Exterior walls facing a street shall be articulated to reflect human scale. So it seems like it would be, if you look from the plan view, look at, I've got these awnings over my entrances, that counts. We'd be like, well.
Correct. It has to actually be in the structure of the building.
Building wall, exterior wall. Okay. Good suggestion there. Good review, Commissioner Allen. Anything else? Commissioners?
I have a question on the drive. Is that driveway wide enough? And is it at a good angle?
You said the side access drive?
Yeah.
I was going to see who caught this. So we actually have a maximum limit, so it can't be more than 40 feet. And when you look at the aerial view here, you're actually going to see that there's part of the drive is already there. So this is one of the zones that actually would require a shared driveway or shared access. So some of them have shared driveways as you look along here, but all of these lots are actually connected in the back so that you can get from one lot to the other without ever having to go out on the street. So on the site plan, that's one thing you'd have to look for is, one, you probably just have them scoot that access over, share the access, and then somewhere else on the site they have to have access to both sides on either side of them.
If we want to look into that, is that off-street parking for these kind of?
That one's going to be in 17100-050, pretty sure. So this is your access requirements. So this is where it's going to say it's got to be a certain distance away from another access point or share it. So there's the 40 feet in width and then the interconnection. And then we're doing the commercial community zone, so it has to apply to that zone.
That's a lot to review. Thank you, staff, for reviewing those, because those are, clearly not spelled out in a sequential one location. You have to check and recheck and, back and forth to lots of different code references.
Yeah, these, I can't speak for other planners. Reviews like this take me several hours because, yeah, you're looking all over the place. It helps when you get to learn it, and you still miss things. And so it helps when you have several sets of eyes on it. Going to see if I can point out anything that I noticed. One big thing that they missed would have been on the landscaping here, where it is not yet landscaped along Pony Express. Right through here, they would be required to landscape it and maintain it. So even though that's not on their site, that's something we would require in their
city
submittal.
right away that they're obligated to do. Okay.
It's kind of a unique situation here where they still have grass all the way along the front here, where right now we wouldn't allow that. But to make it continuous and to look good, we probably would allow sod there, just as long as they tried to keep it to a minimum by still making it match.
So one thing I see under the site plan requirements that I don't see in the plan here, this example, is they don't have utilities. At least not that I saw. They don't have any, they don't show their storm drain or any underground, because 17100.50 is utilities. All utilities shall be underground. Okay.
Right, I didn't go through the effort.
Do they need to show those?
Yes, so
Okay.
and that's one thing we can go
That's
over
fine.
too, and I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Is what you guys don't ever see is when we get a site plan application, sometimes it actually sits with us for several months before we even start reviewing it, because they're required to submit these application materials. So they need to have all of this submitted to us. So everything that's listed on the site plan here, all those documents. So
So what you're
landscaping,
saying is
grading,
behind
drainage.
the scenes.
Behind the
you
scenes,
say,
sometimes-
Hey, we started this, you're missing utility plan, storm drain, grading, and then it just, you're like, okay. And then
Yeah, and sometimes it takes some weeks to get them
3,
to us,
6
so,
months, and
yeah.
you're like, hey, it's on you now.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So what you guys see comes to you, all of a sudden pops up, sometimes that's been with us for 6 months, 8 months. Half of that may have been our review going back and forth, because we're set to a certain review period. So our first review is 10 business days. So it's 2 weeks, and we give it to them. They take as long as they want.
You get it off your plate and
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, here's our comments.
And then every subsequent review after that is 5 days for us. If we feel like the comments are minimal, we try to do less than that. If we see everything's addressed, we won't even send it back out for a review with our DRC.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and oftentimes, as much as we love our developers, it usually sits with them for longer than it sits with us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so it can be a challenge when it's been a couple months and they've sent back reviews and you've got to go back and relearn everything that you looked at for this one project.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Does the city, because I think we all saw an email that came recently, that said, hey, I own this lot. What can I do with it? And my first thought is like, I was like, speaking on behalf of the staff, I was like, well, staff shouldn't, necessarily be the ones that have to tell you everything on what, I mean, it's, the code's here for a reason, and maybe it's, a lot of times you'll have a property owner or developer who has a group of people that do that research, and because every city's different. But how often do you get requests like, I'm looking at buying this property, what can I do with it? And you're like, go look at our code.
A couple times a week.
Is that an appropriate response?
No, absolutely. So if
For your consideration at least.
if we know what the zoning is, we'll tell them this is the zone.
Oh, okay.
We try to be really good about giving them direct links to those chapters so you can go look up what's allowed here. If it's not an appropriate zone for, sometimes they have an idea of what they want. So we tell them, okay, you've actually got to go rezone this. Here's the process for that. So it really, it's question dependent, but we always try to provide as much information we can to help them out. Yeah, we will never design a site for somebody.
Without doing the research completely for them.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to design it.
Okay,
We just give them the tools to
it's always hard. What can I do?
give them on their way. But we will also do pre-application meetings. So this is
Yeah,
before,
an interested party would come in
some
and-
you'll never see.
Yeah,
So it's not even a site or a concept plan that they want feedback from the planning commission or the city council. It's just, they send it to staff. It's usually really basic information, kind of what, it may have been even as simple or as complex as this, and we'll give them as much feedback as we feel like it warrants. And it could just be, this is not even the correct use, so we're just gonna end there, send it back to them.
okay. Let's take a look at where, like, this example shows two different sides of sidewalk, even though we know that the south side is abutting up against a residential neighborhood, so it would not be allowed.
By practicality, that sidewalk probably doesn't serve a
It wouldn't be there 'cause
purpose.
you have to put a buffer,
Yeah.
there would be a fence or something like that, right? But, what I'd like to find is where does it direct in the commercial zone, like in the case where it does have a shared, public access, or it's on the right of way, where there would be sidewalk requirements and size. Is that shown here? I don't think it's shown in 100.
So, in the parking table, or parking code 7050, and then 090, I think this is the only place where it actually talks about how big your sidewalk has to be, and that's if your parking lot's big enough. We've had an application recently that kind of dealt with this, where they got that exception from the specific requirement. But other than that, typically they just put enough 4 or 5 foot sidewalk. They just have to provide a pedestrian access to the right of way.
And that would be, and you said it's 1755.90,
Yep.
and that would be specific for obvious, residential is handled completely different because it's handled, that's really governed by your street.
Your street profile.
The street profile, yeah, the street layout, right? Okay. All right, okay. Lots to look at. Okay, anything else anybody really, really wants to point out or ask a question?
I'm not like dying to do this.
Chad,
but just when
you do
you,
it,
when you
yeah.
first get a site, I'm assuming there's some like analysis of the topography, or like say this was like into a wash, or like, I don't know. Like we're assuming a pretty level flat site without a lot of grading, but I saw somewhere that the city discourages large grading or like significant grading. Is that, I don't know, how would that fall in? Is that part of their application?
Yes, so they have to submit a grading and drainage plan, so they'll always submit what is currently on the site untouched. So we know if there's a slope concern, because right now our code doesn't allow anybody over 25, so any slopes over 25% they can't touch. They had to leave those alone. Can't grade them out. But yes, then we do ask for like a final grading, so we know, and most of this for our engineers to know, okay, is water going to flow where it's supposed to, because there's going to be, usually has to be on-site detention, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, sorry. But yeah, I think, and that's a good point. So you could have, these can come in sort of in wave, right? The same application, they could say, hey, here's our application. You say, hey, you didn't do a grade, a topography, I need a topography map. We know, for example, we've had recent applications next to the Tickville Wash. We say, hey, on a 2D plan, yeah, that looks good, but we can't see anything until you have elevation. So are there scenarios where they start sending stuff to you, like, hey, we're not gonna proceed until you give us a topo, a
Yeah.
grading plan?
No,
Right?
absolutely.
Okay, and again, even in that case, because that can change dramatically between, I mean, that's the essence of the ultimate plan is, hey, we need to see in context, not just the vertical difference, here, under the site plan, it says, the presence of slope 25% or greater on a property shall be prohibited from development, right? And then, of course, there's retaining wall heights that are also required in different sections of the code. it has to protect the natural drainages, tick the washer, the other washers. So, again, all that would have to, even in a perfect scenario, they provide that all to you. You know, they have a pre-application meeting, here's what we're thinking, they go do their homework, and they come back and they give you everything.
Right.
And then you say, okay, it checks it, it's ready to go to site plan review for planning commission. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And again, we can go back and look at some of these, a lot of stuff, again, you don't see, like, we do look at all these utilities, so we have a person that's their job is to make sure all the utilities will flow, whether it's sewer, whether there's enough pressure for water, and then the traffic impact study, so all of them, they get a check mark whether they need it. We'd make sure, does the engineer feel like this site warrants an updated traffic study for the area? It takes that into account. If not, they're not required to put one in or to submit one. So all of that happens in the background, sometimes even before the application is submitted fully. And there's a lot of moving parts, and we try to keep it all organized.
Commissioner Jensen.
I have one more question. I don't even know if this is a thing, but on the landscape plan, it shows the trash enclosure off to the side, but it's not on the plot, so we don't know where they're gonna put it in the parking lot, and is there gonna be big truck access to get to it?
Yeah, that would be a problem, because honestly, looking at this, there's really not a good place to put it.
A philosophical approach for you as staff, what happens when you encounter, like we've had applicants that are requesting a variance, right, that clearly don't meet the current code? Is that an internal discussion to proceed with an agenda item, knowing that, hey, the part of the discussion is, hey, there's a code, they're requesting, I guess you would turn to the applicant and say, hey, are you requesting a variance? How does that work?
So often when we make these notes, we're sending it back to them, you kind of have a good idea of which ones they're going to be able to change and which ones are going to be make or break for the project. If there are ones that the developers set on, they're not going to change, they have to do it a certain way or they feel like they have to, then yeah, we suggest you can apply for a variance. We often tell them that you're probably not going to get it if we don't feel like it's, like if we already know we're going to recommend denial because we just know it doesn't meet the requirements, we'll be straight up with them. We don't want to waste their time. Sometimes they want to try that. We try not to just automatically lead them to you can do a development agreement. We don't want to encourage that. Really, we want them just to follow our code. Developers sometimes know that that's an option, so they'll push it as far as they can before they're going that route. But really, our first goal is always to follow our standards, comply with them. If there's really something that you can't get over that's going to break your project apart, we can look at other options.
In a couple instances on previous agendas, there's been comments that have come from staff say, hey, we've reviewed this and here's 3 things that either have to change or be aware that they're going to change. Is that just usually kind of a procedural thing like, hey, we told the developer they got to put the fencing around the AC units, right? Mm-hmm. And they said, yeah, we're going to do it. And so, but it's just not shown on the plan. Is that, in those circumstances, that's where you would make that note and still proceed with an agenda item?
Yeah, so sometimes if it's something small like that, where we don't want to go through another review, we don't want to make them make the changes, we feel like they're ready, so let's not make them hold up, especially when we have meetings every 2 weeks. Yeah. We have to send out the notices, like if sending that back to somebody like that could make them wait a whole nother month. And so, yeah, we'll be nice and say this is something that's an easy change. It's not going to substantially change anything from what you see, but the site will look exactly the same, just with this one little change. So we'll try to help them out with that. But yeah, if it's big enough that something could really move around or elevations could drastically change, we'll try our best to keep them from ever getting to you guys and going to the city council. Okay. Again, if they're going to push it, we can let them go, just with the understanding that. Because our goal is never to actually get it so they have to deny it because they just don't meet code. Nobody wants that. But if they have every right, if they want to push it forward, the applicant can do that.
Okay. Great. Well, good exercise. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for whoever the anonymous AI who generated that. Pretty good
I'm honestly,
conversation
I'm
point.
surprised it came out as well as it did with
Yeah.
the lack of time I put into it, but
Yeah.
there's also a lot of discrepancies.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Stephen, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the trainings provided by staff. Okay, that was the first agenda item. We can look at, on our work session, we have an agenda item 1B, which is just to preview the agenda, the policy adjustment. Do we want to do that, or do we wait? I don't want to steal Rob's excitement during the policy. Yeah. Rob, is there anything that you might want to say in a minute or two ahead of the next few minutes that you would actually say for the session?
Well, I think it was, you probably read between the lines, if not read what was said in the report, and basically this item that's coming up tonight is, it should be just quick and simple housekeeping. The notification for the other two parcels that go with this third parcel took care of those two, and they went through the process, and you've already made a recommendation on them.
Okay.
This is the trailing one that was accidentally left out of the notification, so it's the caboose, to
Gotcha.
borrow last time's training, falling behind the rest of the train.
Right on cue with your training. I like that, Rob. I like that a lot. Okay, all right. Okay, that concludes our work session. We will go ahead and, unless there's something that I missed, anything from the commission? Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and end at 6:22, and we will start our policy session at 6:30. Thank you. We will start with our declaration of conflicts. We'll start to my left. Commissioner Strong.
None.
Commissioner Allen.
None.
Commissioner Free.
None.
Commissioner Jensen.
None.
Commissioner DeCoursey.
None.
Commissioner Hess has none. Okay, next on our agenda is a review of our July 28th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting minutes. In your review of these meeting minutes, was there any comment or changes that need to be made?
Yeah, Chair, I'll end up voting to abstain just because I wasn't here the whole meeting. But I did notice in 7A under the motion, it just says Commissioner Blank moved to recommend approval, and it was yourself, Chair. So Commissioner Hess moved to recommend approval on item 7A.
Thank you for that review. Any other suggested changes? Okay. All right, seeing no changes, I'll entertain a motion to include the recommendation by Commissioner Allen.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of, what was the date again?
July 28th, yeah.
July 28th, with the one correction on 7A.
I'll second that motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Strong to approve the meeting minutes with the revision or the change to 7A, as mentioned by Commissioner Allen, and a second by Commissioner Hess. Just want to verify, was that condition, the change to 7A, was that clear enough, or should we, okay, you got that? Thank you, appreciate that. Any final discussion or question on this item?
Could I just ask for clarification?
Commissioner Chet. Yeah.
Where I was not present last time, do I vote?
On the minutes?
Yeah, you can, right, Marcus? I think if you watch the videos and feel comfortable.
Historically, the person has abstained, so I think we should keep with that.
Perfect, thank you.
All great questions. Thank you, Commissioner DeCoursey. Okay, with that, we will proceed with vote. We'll start with Commissioner Allen,
Yeah, I abstain.
Commissioner Free,
All abstain.
and Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner DeCoursey,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Hess is yes, and Commissioner Strong.
Yes.
Okay, that vote passes with 3 votes with 3 abstained votes. Okay. All right, I don't see, Brandon is not here.
Chair, we can give you a status report. if you
Okay,
like.
thank you.
Steve and I each had an item respectively, and so he can talk about Bradley Farms, and I'll mention Scenic Mountain.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear a status update from staff.
So the Briley Farms one was just their development agreement. That ask was for, to change the timing of when they're required to put in landscaping so they could build the units first and then put in the landscaping, which made sense. And then it was to allow credit for from an additional phase into their number of larger townhomes they had to build, the larger garages. Outside of those approvals, they also had a work session item during the council's work session where they talked about they want to bring back another product. So instead of the 3-story with the larger garages, they wanted to propose a 2-story townhome that increased the garages, what the council asked for. So there was a discussion there that kind of looked at what they could do. And then a couple hours before this meeting, we actually got their application to amend their agreement again, even though we just amended it to do that product. There is basically, they're going to propose it to do it everywhere they can where they haven't already started on those units. So you should be seeing, if it comes to you, you'll be seeing that shortly.
Thank you, Stephen, for the work on that and presenting that. Rob, do you have an update?
Council approved the Scenic Mountain Area rezone proposal that came through, was started by staff and had 223 properties or so involved in that effort. Most of those were single-family detached with some attached units and some open space and a church site, et cetera. The zoning they assigned to the properties was as per recommended by staff, along with future land use map categories or settings that were also associated with those zones that were detailed in a chart that they had as an exhibit. And so that was clarified, voted on, approved.
Okay. Thank you, Robert, for that update. Okay, any other status update besides those, which are good? Okay. All right, we'll move to the next agenda item, our item number 7, action advisory item. We have one item tonight for presentation and review, and this will be presented by Robert Hobbs.
Megan, are we ready? Thank you. Sorry, Carson, bless his heart, had this set up to where didn't have to go dragging this around anymore. There we go. The item before you, as mentioned briefly in our work session together, represents a request for a rezone, and with that really a future land use map amendment as well, for the parcel that's demarcated upon your simple site plan or vicinity map there. The area that is around the property has a future land use map setting, pair or category set of employment center campus and neighborhood residential 1 for our map. I couldn't find any history of anything different than that in old historical records as far as maybe a change that was effectuated but not mapped to that future land use plan. The property is also was made a part of a development agreement some years ago. It takes in the Pinnacles project as a whole. So the area that we're looking at is the lower left parcel below the MF1 zone to the left of where it says CN zone. And it looks like a parcel defined by a couple street frontages and a couple other property lines. The applicant is requesting that this parcel be zoned agriculture, and that a future land use map assignment, since we don't have it on our books yet, of agriculture be given, but if not that, something like open space, natural or in an RD1 or something. But anyway, the intent that they expressed, so I think I'm okay to say it in this meeting, is that they wanted to just try and receive a tax break on the property until such time as it may come back to the city as a commercial or some other kind of development. But that's predicated, of course, on some interest being expressed in the property for such a development. And the applicant has indicated that thus far, since the Pinnacles project was entitled, they have not had that kind of interest expressed. And staff can see that maybe it would someday be something like a little office area perhaps, but retail, commercial there, well, remains to be seen. Staff has no qualms about recommending again that this property be assigned the zoning requested, just like its two brothers or sisters, so to speak, to the right or east of it along that same street frontage were zoned just recently. Any questions? housekeeping.
Any questions for Robert?
So would this be changed to agricultural, but the future land use map still be commercial neighborhood or something like
Now,
that?
we would change that to agree with this, and it's really an amendment to the master plan. I should be
Yeah.
more specific, I suppose, in that sense.
Okay.
But basically what they're doing is rezoning.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Okay, any other questions? I don't see the applicant here, unless they're online, if they might want to make it any sort of presentation. I don't see them here. We'll proceed. This is a public hearing for this item, and so we will open the public hearing. It is 6:40 PM. Is any comments been received by public, whether online or, I don't see anybody here in the audience wanting to make those. Anything? Okay. All right, seeing no public comment to this agenda item, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:41 PM. Discussion amongst the commission on this item. Any discussion, particular discussion or question? Okay, hearing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I move that we forward a positive recommendation to City Council for item 7A as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, this agenda item has been, a motion's been made by Commissioner Allen to forward a positive recommendation, followed by a second from Commissioner Strong. Any need for discussion prior to our voting? Okay, hearing none. We will go ahead and proceed with our vote. We'll start with Commissioner Free,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner DeCoursey,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess votes yes, Commissioner Strong,
Yes.
and Commissioner Allen.
Yes.
Okay, that vote, that receives, sorry, I did just acknowledge that Commissioner Jensen is our alternate, and so I guess on that, we might need to remove that as a vote for the note. Sorry, I apologize for that. So we received five votes, so that passes. We have an alternate that was ready and willing to vote, and I led her down the path incorrectly. I apologize for that, but no. Okay, that vote passes with 5 votes, and that is the conclusion of our policy session. Any discussion items? Our next meeting is scheduled, who has the 2 weeks? 25th. Are there any commissioners know that they will be out of town or unavailable on August 25th?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. I'll just ask if something comes up, please text me, and we'll just make sure we have a quorum. Thank you for that, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Somebody wants to make it?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Allen. We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor?
Do we get a second?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Okay. Still got the training wheels on. Thank you for correcting me. A motion by Commissioner Allen to adjourn, followed by a second by Commissioner DeCoursey. We'll do a voice call. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Meeting is adjourned at 6:43. Thank you.